Hi guys, hope you're well. You may have seen in my recent videos that I needed to change my electrics. So, this is what I bought. So I'm going to go into more detail in future videos as to why I purchased the parts which I've got and also into how I actually fit them. So first of all, starting with the battery. So I've actually opted for the TN 110 amp hour lithium iron phosphate battery. Initially this is going to be coming from two charge sources. It's going to come from the Victron DC to DC charger and also a Victron MPPT solar controller with a 150 watt solar panel on the roof. Distribution will be by a 12 volt DC fuse box and also an AC consumer unit for the 240 volts. The power for the AC supply is going to come from the Victron Phoenix 800 watt inverter to provide that 240 volts. To ensure that the system is running properly, it's all going to be able to be monitored by the Victron app. So each of the devices is going to be able to connect via Bluetooth to this app. They'll all effectively talk to each other to make sure that each part is doing exactly what it should do. And then if anything needs to be switched off, it can automatically shut down that procedure. So partly for this, I've got the Victron Smart Shunt, which is effectively a battery monitor, but it's a battery monitor without a physical device, so you can actually see what's going on. So as I said, that's all going to be done through the smart app on the mobile phone rather than actually having a physical device, although I might get one in the future, who knows. I'm also going to be fitting the Victron Battery Protect to ensure that the battery has its protection which is required. A Victron battery sense is going to be fitted to the top of the battery. So with the lithium iron phosphate batteries, you do need to make sure that they're only charged above certain temperatures. They can't be charged below a set temperature. So the battery sense is going to sit on top of that battery and effectively monitor temperature, just to make sure that the battery doesn't fall below that temperature, and if it does, that talks to the other parts of the system with the Victron setup, and then it will actually stop any of the devices which would normally charge the battery from actually charging that battery, so no harm is done. So I've got all the wires, the fuses, the eyelet connection, the bus bars, etc. I've got everything now. Got a crimping tool, got everything which I need to start the system. I've got some sheathing to protect the wires which are going to be in potentially vulnerable areas when they're running under the rubber matting of the front and the cab. So just to make sure that all that's there. It took me several attempts before I actually finally decided on exactly where I was going to be putting the components of the electrical system. Mainly because obviously it's tight space and everything needs to be quite close together. It is recommended that a lot of each of the individual components don't have long cable lengths from one to another, so I had to come up with something around this. So what I've decided is effectively under the driver's seat there's going to be the battery and each of the charging devices. So you've got the DC to DC, got the MPPT controller, we're going to have the Smart Shunt, the Battery Protect, obviously the battery sense on top of the battery, and the bus bars. So that'll be under the driver's seat, and then under the passenger seat that'll be purely for the distribution. So it's going to be having the 12 volt DC fuse board, it'll have the AC power consumer unit, and then it'll have the inverter as well. So just need to juggle around a few things because, as you know, under the transporter seat there can be some wires already in there, especially if you've had a tow bar fitted, which this vehicle has, so that there is a bit of a jungle of wires under there at the moment. So I need to kind of sort that out and make sure that everything's going to sit comfortably, but also comfortably safely. You know, everything has to be safe within that area. So it's time to get the work started. So I'm going to start installing this over the coming days. So if you'd like to join me on my journey and how I fit each of these components, how it turns out and how well it works, please do subscribe, and I shall see you soon. Take care.